Sa gabit ka, ikaw ang nais ko sa tuwina ay nagkakaroon ay at pag-ibig ang iba sa aking puso tunay kang nag-iisa. Di ko nais na mawalay pa bawat sandali sa nais na mawalay ka kahit kailan Loving Hana
Napatay mo na yung galing?
asking to unleash destruction in his name. She tore through the enemies with relentless blows. The Dark Mage watched helplessly as she crushed both bandits and undead. In desperation, he unleashed a thick wave of dark energy, hoping to curse her with death. Before he could reach her, she vanished. He barely had time to react. One moment she was gone. The next, she hovered above him with that same wild grin. His last sight was her mace hurtling toward his head before the ground was painted red. After the brutal clash, soldiers gathered to rest. One knight reported to Tyan that they had surrounded the remaining bandits. Tyan asked whether the captives had revealed anything about the villagers. The knight explained that the bandits seemed uncertain themselves. They had stolen only valuable items and left the people wherever the Archmage had ordered. Though now that the Dark Mage was dead, that lead was long. Burst of frustration, fearing the worst from the villagers. He turned to Aiden and asked where he had been during all this. Aiden, with a serious expression, said there was still a way, though time was short, and they had to act fast. Just before this, Aiden had asked Ent if the Dark Mages had captured all of his kind. Ent confirmed sadly that he had been taken as well, though he had managed to escape. He had seen many others imprisoned, not just Ents, but people too. Our guy began piecing the story together, suspecting that the captives were being gathered for a major ritual, perhaps even to be transformed into undead. Whatever the plan, he vowed not to let it succeed. Rage simmered in Aiden's voice as he questioned how anyone could dare lay hands on his elixir. Tyon, irritated, demanded to know what the enemy was planning. Aiden admitted he didn't know for sure, but mentioned that one escapee had shared the location of a hidden shelter. He had planned to follow it himself. Tyon, however, insisted that they take over the mission, since this all occurred in their territory, and it was his responsibility. Aiden stood firm, placing a hand on his shoulder. He refused to let them face the most dangerous task alone. Tears welled in Tyon's eyes as he expressed disbelief at Aiden's resolve. He admitted he had misjudged him. Watching from a distance, our guide was stunned to see Tyon crying. At that moment, he wonders if only Ent continued to tell the truth. Inside a dense forest, nestled within the crater of an extinct volcano, a man walks up to the Dark Mage and asks how far things have progressed. The mage shares that he has already completed the main circuit and now only needs to know the essence of the sacrifices and let it soak again. He then wonders aloud whether the squad from the fifth village has returned. The warrior beside him responds that they haven't, though he expects them to arrive soon. A sly smile creeps onto the mage's face as he considers this perfect timing. With their return, he believes, his creation will finally be complete. And once the jewel is done, his master will be one step closer to achieving his goal. The warrior agrees and reminds himself that this is the reason they're doing it in the first place. Inwardly, the warrior prays to God just a bit longer. He dares believe in his future ways the Archduchy of Cyprus Duchy. Meanwhile, in the forest, he starts to wonder whether the dark magicians truly have taken over the
Umiram ako ng 500 na. Taas naman yan. Umiram ako ng 20,000 pesos, 98. Ano ba?
shouting that the dark magicians had attacked their village, destroyed their guardian tree, and imprisoned the villagers. Now Aiden begins to understand, just like the
Hello
Crimson Knights,
guys,
dares
please
finally
like
must be
and
one of the
share.
biggest to be
Thank
certain.
you.
Aiden
Subscribe,
knows he must be
subscribe
strong
na
to do
rin.
that. He decides to take Ent with him
Please
over
like
across.
and
Watching
share
Tyon,
and
Aiden feels annoyed. Ent still won't join
subscribe.
the mission just because this is his territory, and
Thank
Aiden
you.
questions why no one is even here.
Aray, ang sakit ng
Suddenly,
braso ko.
monstrous roars echo through the forest, and Lumia charges
Another
into battle with a
level.
wild grin, tearing through the
Please
creature's
like
golden
and
vegetation.
share.
As
Guys,
soon as she stepped into it,
thanks.
he then turns to Tyon.
Umiram ako ng 10,000 pesos, ang interest ay 800. Umiram ako ng 20,000 pesos, 98 lang ang interest. Saan pa rin nakahiram?
Lalo na pang nag-exercise. Lalo na pang nag-exercise.
Mamalik ko. Ilan na ba? 10 minutes?
Tyon, shocked, acknowledges her strength. Aiden senses
39 minutes na?
Ha?
39.
Kurz agrees, while stating that one doesn't need to think deeply to read.
Do you see my face?
She's too obedient. Kurz continues.
Kawaging hangin. Punta tayo sa 6.
Tyon explains that ordinary priests
Mahirap ko.
senseless violence. But Lumia is far too powerful for just a regular servant. She had taken down not only bandits, but dark mages responsible for
Mahirap.
destroying
Doble,
war
doble.
witches, and even monsters infused with demonic energy, without struggle. Aiden reasons that this either makes her a high-level
Hirap.
priestess, or something more. A troubling
Number 1.
realization hits him. An iron-blooded saint should have shown up by now. Watching Lumia's
Middle
gleeful
in
destruction, he decides
the
she needs to be
middle.
watched carefully. Back in the crater, they finally
Low.
With the tense
Yun lang.
confirms it and adds that the fairy tree should be seated in its
Safe.
center. Aiden now understands they had cut down the
Safe
fairy tree,
to.
which was the source of spiritual power to weaken the Ents. He knows that for dark
Middle na
mages,
naman.
fairies
Hindi
are
na
far
naman
more
safe.
valuable than
Ba
humans.
yan?
He begins to wonder why chaos would mean by now. Watching Lumia's infused with demonic energy without struggle, Aiden reasons that this either makes her a high-level priestess or something more.
Na
A
kasi.
troubling realization hits him. An iron-blooded saint should have shown up by now.
Number
Watching
3.
Lumia's gleeful destruction, he decides she
Number
needs to be watched
3.
carefully. Back in the crater, they
Dini.
finally reach what remains of Ed's village. With a
Tapos.
tense look, Ed confirms it and adds that the
Dini
fairy
at
tree
saka
should be seated in
Dini.
the center.
Tapos.
Aiden now understands they had cut down the
Other
fairy tree,
one
which
is
was the source of
Dini.
spiritual
What?
power to weaken the Ents. He
Are
knows
you
that for
sure?
dark mages, fairies
Just
are far
kidding.
more valuable than
Haha.
humans. He begins to wonder why chaos would need so many humans and fairies. Nearby, Anoa opens his eyes in awe upon seeing Dares and feels strangely glad to see him again.
But
Taya, on the other hand, is furious. He
ang
identifies
hirap.
Dares as
Oh my
strength.
G, oh my
Aiden
G.
stops him. Taya is frustrated, questioning how Aiden can remain calm when
6,
their people were attacked
5
and
pala.
sacrificed. He insists that with Lumia's help, they can win. But Aiden remains firm, urging him to Dares is not alone. 7 more dark mages stand with him. Aiden freezes with a tense. They can win. Even if all 3 of them fought together, victory wouldn't be guaranteed. Oh, he's at the level of Silvera's power, right? He points out that Dares is not alone. 7 more dark mages stand with him. The 3 of them wouldn't stand a chance. Aiden knows that this Night King isn't an ordinary foe. He's at the level of Silvera's power. Right now, Dares might be only half a master. But even that makes him far stronger than anyone Aiden has ever faced. Even if all 3 of them fought together, victory wouldn't be guaranteed. Involving the villagers would only lead to unnecessary losses. Thinking of another way, Aiden turns to Curse and asks what he's doing here. Curse stares ahead, saying that since entering the forest, he has felt something strange. He eventually notices something and shares it with Aiden, who admits he sees nothing. Curse snaps, saying he's trying to help, and adds that an ordinary person wouldn't feel it, but he can sense. Aiden, feigning interest, asks what he's discovered. Underlord warns him not to be too shocked, and then reveals that there's something under the tree that would surprise even him. Aiden freezes with a tense expression as several unusual details suddenly begin to make sense. He quickly formulates a plan. He asks Ent if he truly knows everything about the forest. After Ent confirms, Aiden turns to Tyan, asking if he's ready to help his people. Tyan declares that he's willing to die for them. Aiden repeats the question, pressing him to be certain, as there's no going back. Tyan looks at him in confusion. Then Aiden turns to Lunia, asking for her help and promising excitement. Soon after, a monstrous roar rings out from the left side of the crater. Tyon, now panicking, yells as he runs from a horde of giant spiders, cursing Aiden for getting him into this. On the right, even more monsters charge ahead. Lunia runs after them, shouting with joy. She calls it a fun game and tells the ogres to chase her, and warns them that getting caught would mean death. Ent and Aiden observe the chaos. Ent asks if Aiden plans to use the wave of monsters to scare the dark mages. Aiden shakes his head. His plan is to awaken a true monster directly. Deep underground, a massive snake lies in silence. After centuries of slumber and starvation, its eyes finally begin to open. Aiden glances at Ent and seems to wonder if he's scared. Ent, although visibly shaking, denies the feeling. He admits instead that shame and anger weigh heavier on him. He appears to blame himself, thinking that if only he were stronger, things might be different. Before he can fall deeper into self-doubt, Aiden unsheathes his sword, cutting through the tension with quiet determination. He reminds Ent that the ones responsible will pay, first for what they've done, and then for what they owe him as well. Ent seems taken aback, his expression shifting to surprise as he realizes that Aiden doesn't even know his name. Aiden then seems to ask, and Ent gives the name Ez, the same one he had shared earlier in the village. Aiden appears curious, wondering what reward he might gain for risking his life. Ez responds by offering something he believes valuable, Tears of the Ents, a rare commodity said to hold great worth among humans. Aiden looks amused by this offer, accepting it with a smirk. He seems to advise Ez to shift his focus now, to think more about himself than the family he's always tried to protect. Ez stiffens at the thought, perhaps unsure what Aiden means. Aiden doesn't explain. Instead, he concentrates. A thick layer of magical energy begins forming around his sword as he channels his strength. He calls for the spirit,
Aray ko.
Mephisto,
Okay naman.
Yun na may
and
kanin.
Yum,
the
yum, yum,
ghostly
yum,
figure
yum,
appears,
yes.
responding obediently to his forming around his sword as he channels his strength. He calls for the spirit, Mephisto, and within moments, the ghostly figure appears, responding obediently to his master's call. Although the summoning isn't complete, Aiden level of
so
strength will be
heavy.
enough for the task at hand. He sends Mephisto on a mission to seek out poisonous lizards in the lower forest and transport them to the crater volcano at the center. Mephisto vanishes into the sky, and Aiden watches him go, quietly reflecting on how useful it is to have a loyal, high-ranked assistant who follows orders without question. The thought strengthens his resolve. He knows he must grow even stronger to unlock his true potential. Turning back to Ez, he signals that it's time to move. His
Punyeta.
goal
Ang
remains
hirap.
firm. They will save the village, just as promised.
Bibilang tuloy ako
Inside
nito.
the crater of an extinct volcano, Dares stands waiting, frustration growing with each passing moment. He still hasn't heard back from the squad dispatched to the 5th village. Suspicion creeps in, but he dismisses the idea that they could have been wiped out. To him, that village holds no one capable of posing such a threat. Suddenly, a disturbance in a puddle draws his attention. The ripples signal something's coming. A sharp noise follows, confirming his instincts. He clenches his jaw, alert, and assumes some rogue group of thieves is approaching. But when the earth begins to tremble and a wave of monsters appears on the horizon, his expression shifts to alarm. He quickly issues an order to protect the laboratory. Tyon, both furious and terrified, rushes through the crowd, throwing himself into battle with reckless determination while determined to kill our boy. Dares watches the chaos unfold and curses under his breath. Despite the number of enemies, he still believes they can handle this. Then, an explosion behind him pulls his attention. He turns to see a group of ogres fleeing in terror from a mercenary whose madness fills the air. Dare's confusion deepens. Poisonous ogres shouldn't be in this part of the forest. As he scans another direction, more monsters emerge, running from Mephisto, who chases them with eerie delight. Panic spreads. All of the monsters, frenzied and terrified, are rushing straight toward the lab. Realizing the danger, Dares barks orders to stop them. He redirects his soldiers, instructing them to focus all efforts on holding back the advancing wave. At the same time, Aiden and Ez quietly slip into the village. Navigating the narrow paths, they eventually reach one of the inner chambers. Ez's eyes light up with recognition. Behind the bars, a group of Ents is imprisoned. He rushes to them, filled with relief and urgency. The captives seem shocked to see him, and he silently reminds them of his promise to return. But as joy settles in, concern rises. Ez's face, he notices the numbers are off. Too few remain. He silently questions where the others have gone. The Ents respond with heavy expressions. The missing ones have been taken away by the guards, marked for sacrifice. Ez lowers his head, burdened by the realization that he's too late for many of them. Aden observes the weight on Ez's shoulders and quietly reassures him. It's not his fault. Their enemies are simply that cruel. Aiden steps forward, asking Ez to move aside, and gestures for the other Ents to back away from the bars. With a sharp motion, he slices through the metal, freeing the prisoners. He knows this isn't the right moment for questions, but there's something he needs to find out. He asks if they know where the others were taken. Aiden believes that if he can reach that location, the enemy's larger plans will finally become clear. While the rescue unfolds, the battle at the laboratory intensifies. Dares, surrounded, fights ferociously. The ground becomes stained with blood, red, green, black, all mingling as the chaos grows. Some of it seeps into the earth and reaches a hidden chamber far below. There, a massive snake lies dormant. But as soon as the creature takes blood, its eyes snap open. Hunger rises instantly. With a hiss, the beast begins to climb upward through the soil. The tremors reach the surface. Dares feels the earth shake and frowns, unsure what new threat is coming. The vibration carries deeper meaning for Aiden, though. His expression shifts into a knowing smile. He realizes what's awakening. The king of vipers, the basilisk, has risen. Moments later, the ground erupts. The monstrous serpent bursts forth, and Dares, unable to comprehend the sight, stands frozen in horror as the beast towers before him. A few moments ago, our guy questions Underlord about whether he truly believes there is a basilisk nest hidden here. Curse appears convinced, stating that the king of snakes has venom so deadly it could fell even a master swordsman with a single bite. He's sure that the creature must have gone into hibernation after becoming weakened, and speculates that the poisonous air in the forest of death has been leaking from this very basilisk for ages. As Aiden peers ahead, he finds it peculiar. Basilisks typically inhabit warm southern woods, so it wouldn't make sense for one to be in this area. Curse becomes annoyed by the inquiry and internally snaps, contemplating that if he had the answers, he wouldn't be trapped in the body of someone so weak. He then raises his voice, assuming the basilisk has likely starved for centuries, and is now, at last, awakening and beginning to growl deeply and menacingly. Now in present, Dares stands nearby, eyes wide in confusion, wondering why a basilisk would appear. But the sight doesn't shake his resolve. He tightens his grip and decides he won't let anything interfere with his master's plans. Holding the sword steady, he charges toward the basilisk without hesitation. Far away, in a dark laboratory, a magician reflects on the chaos. The incoming wave of monsters, he thinks, is actually useful. It will speed up the completion of the ruby. With more bodies, both human and beast, his progress will accelerate. And once the ruby is finished, everything will fall into place. Just then, someone interrupts his thoughts. Aiden suddenly appears and grabs the magician by the head. As he inspects the glowing stone, he notices it's far from ordinary. The magician looks up in alarm, but before he can react, Aiden slams his face into the table. A memory flashes through Aiden's mind. He remembers the Ents saying something about being used to make a special kind of stone. Now, as he holds the ruby, he realizes that this must be what they meant. He takes the stone into his hand and wonders what its purpose could be. But as he does, a brilliant glow bursts from it. Confused, Aiden questions what's happening. A system message appears, notifying him been fulfilled, and the ruby is being absorbed into him. Aiden jerks, trying to figure out what's going on and why the stone has merged with his body. Once he calms down, he examines his palm, noticing no visible change. He wonders again what exactly was this stone for, and the system had mentioned the jewel was incomplete, but offered no other clues. With no clear answers, he decides to treat it as just another burden he now carries. Curse, visibly annoyed, questions if he really considers him just luggage. Aiden doesn't fully agree, but concludes he needs to end this situation quickly. Back at the battlefield, the basilisk unleashes its venomous breath, sending dark magicians flying. Dares shudders, cursing the poisonous fog that's rendered him immobile. He thinks his master could have handled this beast with a single strike. Now standing face to face with the creature, he wishes he could borrow his master's power just for a moment. Clenching his sword tightly, he releases a loud war cry and swings hard. After delivering the blow, he gasps for breath and declares to himself that he succeeded. He wonders if this brings him any closer to his master's level. Then, a strange voice speaks from behind, congratulating him on reviving the Swordmaster's legacy, and immediately bidding him farewell. Tension floods Dares' body as he realizes he's never heard that voice before. He tries to turn, but a blade pierces through him. It's Aiden. He tells Dares coldly that he should rest in hell, because his master would be joining him soon. He calls Dares a loyal dog. In agony, Dares turns back, demanding to know who he is. Aiden's gaze sharpens as he reveals that he is the one Dares' master once called a comrade. Then, he commands his sword to consume Dares. The cursed blade absorbs the screaming man as he cries out that he must report back to his master that he has finally become useful. Moments later, only the sword remains, embedded in the ground. Aiden sheaths it and wonders if, even at the edge of death, Dares truly thought more of his master than himself. Thinking about Sylveta, our guy remarks that he was lucky to have this kind of loyal servants on his side. Looking at the lifeless basilisk, he admits that he didn't expect to defeat it so easily. It's not a bad result for a chained beast, even though Aiden had planned to finish it himself. Curse, watching with amusement, asks why Aiden was inside the basilisk's mouth. With a grin, Argyce thinks he couldn't miss such an opportunity. After all, a basilisk's remains are full of valuable materials. Fangs can become weapons, skin can be turned into armor, and its venom can be used to build poison immunity. Now that everything's been claimed, Argyce believes it's time to visit the Ents. Curse then looks up, his tone serious, and urges Argyce to look at the sky. He mutters that a mere snake shouldn't have possessed such a thing. Aiden, puzzled, turns his gaze and notices a glowing object in the distance. As he gets closer, he recognizes it. It's a demonic soulstone. Holding it in his hand, he realizes this stone must act as a container for dark energy. It finally explains why the monsters in this region have been so overwhelmingly strong. But then another question hits him. How did this thing end up inside the basilisk? He stashes the stone away, but his subspace pocket begins to tremble. A pendant suddenly appears before him. It's the one his teacher had left behind in the dungeon. He guesses the demonic stone is reacting to it. Moments later, the two objects pull toward each other and merge, surprising our guy. He wonders if this was all meant to happen from the start. A system message states that the pendant's affinity with magic and darkness has increased, and that its full power has yet to be revealed. It also states that the item is bound to the soul and cannot be taken while the owner is still alive. Argyce studies it in confusion, realizing it must be a soul-bound artifact once used by dark magicians. Furious, he throws it away, shouting internally about how the thing clings to him without consent. But almost instantly, the pendant is back on his chest. Cursing again, he tries to rip it off using his teeth, only to be interrupted by the sudden appearance of rabbits. He solemnly congratulates him for clearing the dungeon. Aiden, still biting at the rope, stares at him in anger. The creature trembles under his glare, recognizing who he is. He demands to know if they just claimed he cleared the dungeon. The rabbit stumbles over their words, saying he may have been mistaken. Aiden, filled with anger, demands to know the location of the dungeon core, and if he should just destroy it immediately. With tear-filled eyes, the rabbits urge him to relax. Meanwhile, nearby, an owl observes quietly, its gaze locked onto the peculiar pendant currently on our guy's chest. Rabbits trembles with anxiety, his body stiff with tension. He can't believe his misfortune to run into that same person he had hoped never to meet. Aiden, however, calmly reflects on their exchange. He confirms with Rabbits whether the entire Forest of Death truly functions as a dungeon. Rabbits nods, visibly nervous. Aiden recalls something he once read, that if a powerful monster leaves behind enough energy, the land it inhabited could slowly transform into a dungeon. Looking around, he realizes this forest fits that exact description. A faint smile creeps across his face as he remembers something Rabbits had mentioned earlier. He questions Rabbits, his tone sharp beneath the calm, asking if he had intentionally directed him toward the ant village, despite knowing the area was extremely dangerous. The accusation hits hard. Aiden wonders whether Rabbits had really dared to pull such a cheap stunt on a valued client. Rabbits panics. His thoughts swirl, trying to understand how Aiden saw through his act. He blurts out a stream of nervous excuses, claiming it was all a misunderstanding, that he never meant harm. Aiden responds coldly in thought, deciding it's best to report this behavior to the hat merchant. The name Hat Merchant strikes terror in Rabbits. He imagines the ruthless leader staring at him with pure menace, deciding his fate. And if they would really keep him employed after this. Overwhelmed with fear, Rabbits drops to his knees and slams his head into the dirt, begging for forgiveness, promising to make up for everything. Aiden, watching him with satisfaction, decides to forgive him, but only under one condition. He demands that Rabbits sign an exclusive contract. The request sends a wave of horror through Rabbits. He knows what this means, that such contracts bind a person to one merchant for life. Every item found in dungeons must be sold through that merchant, who in turn ensures complete confidentiality and agrees to fulfill any request from the client. The agreement relies entirely on trust and is not taken lightly. Furious and humiliated, Rabbits wonders how Aiden has the audacity to ask for such a commitment after deceiving him. He would rather risk his organs than sign such a deal, but the look in Aiden's eyes tells him there's no way out. The situation is completely against him. Meanwhile, Aiden seems pleased. He's reclaimed control and taken revenge. Rabbits is left sulking, while Aiden celebrates silently, planning to squeeze every possible coin from him. Just then, someone yells his name. Aiden turns to find Tyan charging toward him, his expression stormy. Aiden barely has time to wonder what's happening before Tyan places a hand on his shoulder and, to his surprise, thanks him. Tyan acknowledges that without Aiden's bizarrely vicious plan, saving people would have been almost impossible, and that he might have lost his knights. Aiden mentally grumbles at the word bizarrely vicious, but before he can react, Tyan hands him an object. He explains that it's a token of loyalty from his family, a symbol of the readiness to support him at any moment. Aiden stares at it in disbelief, thinking about how useful it might be to have such influential allies. He questions whether Tide will be pleased about this gift, but Tyan shrugs it off, saying that saving their family is what matters. Smirking, Aiden asks the ants. Tyan looks at them with little interest, saying they are not his people and that he doesn't intend to.
Ang dami na talaga negosyo nag-advertise sa social media.
Then he notices
Oh, come on!
surprised. Aiden watches silently. Tyan explains that the child was with them the entire time. Of course, he had noticed that did Aiden really if he couldn't tell a human from an ant. Embarrassed, Aiden asks to handle things from here. Approaching the ants, he gently asks why they're standing there. The leader explains that they are guarding the remains of the fairy tree. He tells Aiden that the tree is sacred, grown from a legendary world tree, planted by their ancestors.
Ang dami na talaga negosyo nag-advertise sa social media.
Was their childhood companion.
Oh, come on! Nandiyan ka pala. RC mo.
Reflecting on the idea of trusting someone completely until the end. A part of him feels envious of that tree. At least it had friends who stayed by its side until its final moment. Just then, he hears a faint voice asking for help. His eyes widen as the tree just speaks to him, expecting it to be speaking to the ants instead. But the voice explains that only he can hear it, thanks to the tiny fairy spirit resting on his hand. Aiden looks at his left hand in surprise, realizing it's the Banshee shield. She's a spirit too. The tree continues speaking. It says it will soon fall into an eternal sleep, like all living things. But it doesn't want to leave its friends in sorrow. It asks Aiden to help them. Aiden knows this is not part of his job. He's a mercenary, and this won't earn him a single coin. But then he remembers the journey he's been on. With a soft smile, he looks up and tells the spirit not to worry. He'll do what he can. The tree gives him its blessing and slowly fades. The ants gasp in awe as glowing energy begins to form around Aiden's hands. It steps forward and explains that it's the seed of the fairy tree. With it, they can regrow what was lost. Still puzzled, Aiden looks at the cheering ants and wonders why they're staring at him. It announces that whoever receives the blessing becomes the new leader of the ant tribe. Then he raises his voice, calling out Aiden's name. Shocked, our guy repeats the title under his breath. The rest of of the Ents begin to chant it with pride, swearing their loyalty. Aiden curses under his breath, wondering what kind of twisted joke the tree just played on him. The contract he made with Iz couldn't possibly cover all the responsibilities of a tribe. As the spirit of the tree vanishes into the sky, Aiden raises a hand and jokingly come back and settle the expenses. Curse looks at our guy and ponders that maybe Aiden truly is the one meant to fulfill the will of his pendant. The scene then shifts back to a few days ahead, vanishes into the sky. Aiden raises a hand and jokingly orders it to come back and settle the expenses. Curse looks at our guy and ponders that maybe Aiden truly is the one meant to fulfill the will of his pendant. The scene then shifts back to a few days ahead. Aiden's father stares at him in disbelief. He seems glad that Aiden has finally come home, but can't help commenting on the growing group of odd creatures trailing behind him. Each time Aiden returns, it feels like he brings more followers than before. Aiden, equally puzzled, tries to explain that he didn't plan any of this. Apparently the fairy tree tricked him, and somehow he ended up as the leader of the... That's why they've settled in the Remez territory. He grumbles about the whole situation, but secretly admits that it's not so bad. After all, he's now getting a constant supply of Ent's tears, which feels like winning the jackpot. Then something else catches his attention. Aiden wonders where the giant dog suddenly came from. It's racing across the courtyard, carrying Alice. While Iz runs ahead crying and begging for help, Alice is shouting commands to the dog, calling it Choco. Fried casually explains that this strange creature is a search dog. Every day, Aiden blinks in confusion again, and his father jumps in, saying that a few months ago, they found the dog doing surprisingly well with commands, and with eating. It devoured everything given to it, so they kept feeding it. At some point, it started obeying Alice, and eventually now. Watching the wild chase, Aiden struggles to make sense of it all. Then the curse in his head suggests that he might be the reason behind this transformation. Curse reminds him that during a goblin hunt with his brother, he gave one of the dogs a smell-awakening potion. That must be it. The dog probably found mana-boosting herbs afterward, which helped it grow. Aiden stares at the scene unfolding before him. Slowly, Iz continues calling for help, completely ignored by Alice and Choco. Later, Aiden lies on his bed, realizing how much he missed home. Nothing beats his own bed, though resting still seems impossible with so much left to do. The curse nudges him about his plans, and Aiden, staring at a mysterious vessel, declares that he will drink the basilisk poison. It's all part of his goal, to become immune to toxins. The curse snarks that it sounds like a death wish, but Aiden insists he'll be fine. He's eaten numerous poisons before. Compared to all that, this is just another drop in the ocean. Without hesitation, he starts chugging the poison, holding his breath to keep from gagging. Just then, Carl walks in. His eyes land on the vessel and his face turns pale. He asks what Aiden is drinking, already suspicious of the ominous color. Aiden calmly tells him it's basilisk poison. Carl stares in stunned silence for a moment before rushing over in panic. He grabs Aiden, shouting that life isn't that hopeless, begging him to spit it out. Aiden, still unaffected, assures him it's not what he thinks. But then, the familiar poisonous energy starts spreading through his body, and Carl freaks out even more, yelling that Aiden is turning green. Right then, a system message tells that his body is adapting to the basilisk poison. It's starting to gain immunity to all poisons. The pain is intense, but Aiden knows he's done it. As Carl desperately tries to make him vomit, a girl walks into the room. She pauses for a moment, watching the scene with interest. It's Nikita. She seems oddly pleased by the chaos and comments on how close the brothers seem. Soon after, the mood shifts. Aiden sits across from Nikita, curious why she's here. She simply says she came to greet him properly. That throws Aiden off that why would she go out of her way just for that? More importantly, why did she call him Mr.? He's confused. In their past lives, they could barely stand each other, so this sudden politeness makes no sense. Maybe she wants to finish him off with some twisted sense of honor. Nervously, he starts backing away, apologizing for, well, whatever he may have done. But she remains calm. She bows before him and introduces herself. She adds that she's the head of the Dark Fires of Florence, leader of the White Moon Information Guild, and the last descendant of the Florence family. Her journey's been long and lonely, but now she's here to greet the Lord of the Underworld. Aiden sits frozen, not sure what to say. Nikita explains that in the Church of the Holy Fire, the summoned Talos referred to him as the Underworld's ruler, and she witnessed it. When Aiden tries to ask more, she simply points to his pendant, saying it's not a mere ornament. It's a relic and a powerful one, only reactive to those with Florence blood. For anyone else, it's just metal. That's when it hits him. The Florence family must be descendants of the Underlord, and the pendant reacted because of curse. He glares internally at the curse, annoyed that this critical detail was never mentioned. The curse shrugs, saying Aiden never asked. Meanwhile, she watches him quietly, regretting regretting her past attitude. She admits she never imagined someone like him would walk among mortals. Still, she's ready to serve. Whatever orders he gives, she'll follow. Aiden stares at her, realizing she's completely misunderstood the situation. He can't deny that there's some truth to it. Then, a clever thought strikes him. If she's now under his command, that means the entire White Moon Guild's information is at his disposal. He grins. This is an opportunity he can't waste. With a new air of confidence, he plays along. He welcomes her and accepts her loyalty as the Lord of the Underworld. Sometime later, Curse storms in, furious that Aiden has turned his noble image into a ridiculous act. He scolds Aiden for lacking the grandeur and dignity of a ruler. Aiden brushes him off, more amused than offended. He reflects on everything. How little he knew in his past life. How Nikita and this pendant keep revealing more. He never planned any of this, but now, with the White Moon's intel, tracking traitors will be much easier. Still, it's strange. In one life, he was the hero who defeated the Underlord. In this one, he's pretending to be the Underlord himself. What a bizarre twist of fate. In the remez near the Mountain of Monsters, the Ents greet Aiden with cheerful energy. They are busy with construction work. One of them approaches and tells Aiden that everyone seems to like the forest he allocated to them. Aiden asks again to be sure, then says he's glad to hear that, though in truth he recalls just giving them a random piece of land. Aiden then mentions that the fairy tree doesn't look much different from normal ones, except that it grows a little faster. As he stares at the enormous tree towering over the rest of the forest, he wonders how it could grow so large in just 2 days. He's amazed. One of the Ents happily shouts that it's all thanks to St. Alice. Apparently, she poured divine energy into the sapling yesterday, and that triggered the growth. Aiden realizes her powers must be far greater than he assumed. The Ent then tells him that his deputy asked to pass along a message that he had completed everything Aiden instructed. Not in surprise, asks again, and soon finds himself at the house of the deputy chief of the Ahad tribe. Inside, Aiden looks at a gloomy egg and asks the deputy if he thinks it's a spiritual beast egg. The deputy, named Ahad, confirms it, saying he can clearly feel the spiritual energy coming from it. Aiden recalls that he suspected the egg was holy fire, and wonders if it's connected to fairy lineage. But in the end, it's confirmed as a spirit beast egg, something rare that he's never encountered in either of his 2 lives. Ahad explains that the egg usually grows by absorbing energy from its surroundings, but this one appears to be dormant. Aiden wonders if the beast inside will never hatch. Ahad suggests that pouring in divine energy or aura might reactivate the growth, but cautions that the type of energy used will influence what the beast becomes. For example, if it absorbs water energy, it may become a water dragon. If fire energy, a fire dragon. The beast will also see someone with the same energy type as its home, which makes taming easier. Aiden thoughtfully realizes he can shape what the beast becomes. Ahad then hands over a translated text. Aiden thanks him and asks what language it was written in. Ahad replies it's an ancient fairy language and contains mana cultivation techniques for those able to use them. Aiden frowns, having hoped for something rarer. He's a bit disappointed, but Ahad admits he doesn't fully understand the contents either. Leaving the house, Aiden thanks his deputy again and promises to bring more skeleton bone powder next time. Ahad is sincerely grateful. Later, in Aiden's room, he lies on the bed reading. His expression is tense, he's trying to grasp its meaning. He concludes the author is probably from another continent, maybe the East. He remembers hearing that the cult of the Holy Fire originates from there too, which makes sense. The curse, now nearby, asks why Aiden is reading it when he already has a mana cultivation technique. Aiden admits he's just curious since the book is foreign, though he realizes the curse has a point. It's not very useful. Frustrated, Aiden gets up saying the book is pointless, but suddenly he freezes, staring at the book in disbelief. The curse asks what's wrong. Aiden tells him to be quiet. He looks again and realizes the book is filled with unfamiliar terms, but now he's starting to understand them. It's actually very similar to the technique his teacher, the King of Mercenaries, taught him. To his shock, Aiden realizes this book describes an improved version of that same technique. Flipping through the pages rapidly, he wonders who wrote it, but in the end, he decides that it doesn't matter, and what matters is that this technique could help him overcome his current limits. Later, on the training ground, Aiden focuses and begins forming magical energy around himself. He recalls the book's mention of Dantine, the core of mana. Combining the elements, he creates a powerful magical flow that radiates from his body. Steam surrounds him. The curse panics and asks if he's alive. Aiden, overwhelmed, answers that it's incredible. He never expected this. A system window appears, confirming he has acquired a new mana cultivation technique. His mana loss decreases, and his absorption rate increases significantly. Looking at himself, Aiden says he can't believe mana could circulate like this. He can feel it spreading through him. Then he pauses, thinking, why does it feel like he's grown taller? He glances at the curse and notices something strange. The creature, once once small and cute, now looks larger and almost grotesque. Aiden scowls, thinking it looks disgusting. The curse, having read his mind, shouts in outrage and reminds Aiden that he can read his thoughts. The curse then speculates that his own growth is tied to Aiden's strength. He is regaining his true form because of it. Aiden angrily points at him, calling him a parasite. The Underlord fires back that without him, Aiden would have been eaten by rats by now. Later, back in his room, Aiden sits on his bed and reflects. He can't believe he stumbled upon an advanced version of his teacher's technique. He feels incredibly lucky, like it's fate. At first, he thought the book was useless, but now, most of it makes sense. He still can't master everything yet, but he's determined. He deciphers the rest, and the next level will follow. Meanwhile, in the slums of the Immortalia Empire, a man in a torn cloak wanders the streets, cursing the worthless fools from the magic tower. He remembers how they mocked his ideas, claiming it was absurd to mix magic with technology, that magic is a sacred science, not to be combined. He once sat in a lab, nearly completing his research. He believed recognition was close. Now he fumes with rage, declaring that he was thrown away like trash. He vows revenge, but first he needs funds and someone to help him. In that moment, a memory surfaces of Aiden, who once showed genuine interest in his work during a banquet. A grin creeps across the man's face. His name is Gustav, and now he knows who he needs to find and inquiries if it is Aiden Remez.
Yes.
The Remez Knight.
Yes,
Ro
I'm
focuses
gonna-
on his practice with a wooden dummy.
I'm done
Rods link his
fasting.
spine.
So I'm
Memories
gonna
asking if you plan to help, but now it feels clear. Staying behind and the rest of us helping
Six, six. Magkakaroon ng 6 dito ay dito sa middle dito siguro, no? Mali! Pali. Dali.
Aiden sits in Joseph's office, facing him across the desk. Joseph brings up a subject that makes Aiden pause. Speaking with overreach. Aiden stares at him, confused at first. Joseph simply smiles, explaining that this is tradition. The Church of the Holy Fire requires every saint, after
Nabudol ako dun, eh.
to journey across the coast.
Dalawang 6 tsaka 6. Magkaroon ng sagot dito, eh. 6. 6. Meron 6 dito, ay dapat meron din dito 6 niya, walang sagot dun. 7. Go naguri sa may 5. Kalawakan sana noon pa kita 753 nakilala sana noon magmahal bukas na lang kita mamahalin sabay sa paglaya 753. Doon muna tayo sa 2 ng ating mga puso bukas na lang kita mamahalin bukas na lang kita mamahalin sabay sa paglaya ng ating mga puso bukas na lang kita 6 mamahalin. Ang hirap. Bukas na lang kita mamahalin. Safe 1-1. Sabay sa paglaya ng ating mga puso. Bukas na lang kita mamahalin. Bukas na lang kita mamahalin. Sabay sa paglaya ng ating mga puso. Bukas na lang kita mamahalin. 6 at saka 6. Bukas na lang kita 5 na lang mamahalin. Dami ko nang sagutan kanina. Sabay sa na natin 3 at saka 7. Bukas na lang kita tsaka 7 tsaka 7. Mamahalin. 16 minutes na. Sarot dito guys. 3 tsaka 7 na naman. Ito 7 tsaka 5. Pupa. Focus every night in my dreams I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you. Go on.
Ang dami na talaga negosyo nag-advertise sa social media. Oh, come on!
I believe that the heart does go on. Puro sista. Once more, you oh, one 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 two. Once more, you open the door, and you're here in my heart. And if one, tapos one din. Hirap na naman, beshi. Go on. Two. Labo. Safe yung 4. Safe yung 4. Isa sa kanila ay 4. Kano kaya ko, hindi ko makaya. 5 wherever you are, putik. I believe that the heart does. Sayang, palpak. Kala ko tsamba. Sip. 6. Two, three, 4, 5, 6. 568. 1, 2, 3, 5, 9.
Mahal. Kunin ko na.
Ah. Bakit taas yung temperature? 7 dyan. Seven tsaka 3. Hirap ah. Balik tayo sa 1. Once upon a time. Two. Kung isa sa kanila ito, baka ito ang tuwan. Subukan ko to. Ito. Grabe. Isa na lang pala eh. Sa baba. Ito eh. Tapos gilid to gilid. Isa sa kanila ito. Hours 3.
Mahal.
Ah!
Isa na ulog.
Saan?
Doon. Ito na ulog.
Ha?
Madumi na yung isa na ulog. Yung pajama mo.
Inulot mo? Asa na?
Anong may tapon ko to?
Nabasa?
Tapos mo
Ilapag mo
lang.
Ilapag mo naman nito.
Bakit ang gagawin mo? Kapagpad mo?
Nabasa ba?
Hindi. Ito yun.
Wala pala eh.
Ay naman. Ayan. Yari.
Ito. Once upon a time, I don't know the answer. Ito siguro 4. 4 to, no? Ano? Patalagis. Kasi safe to 4.
Galing
Oh
kumagaling ka na.
my G, oh my G. Ito 4 to. Charis.
Correct.
4 ba to?
Siyempre isang pot.
Ito. 4. Ito, gitna. Ito.
5 sa kanin, gitna.
4 to.
Ito mo na sigurado.
Wait lang.
Ayun, no, sigurado na yun, no?
Wait
Sigurado.
lang ah.
Sa gitna.
Ito.
Isa na lang. Gilid.
Ito nga.
Wow!
Isa na lang kasi wala na. Oh, isa na lang mali. Loko, wala.
Ano number na ba? 1 saka 7.
1 saka 7.
7.
Balik tayo sa 5. Blanco. 5, 6, dalawa pa pala to.
5 na lang kulang dito.
Di, dalawa yan.
Ha? Ayun, 5 na lang kulang.
Saan? Di, meron pa mali dyan. Okay, maaari pang isa sa kanila ang 5. Daw. Diba?
Do. Yes.
Oo.
Do.
Tapos dito. Tapos dito
7.
na
Ano mo
naman.
7? 7 muna.
5 to, 5.
Ano 5?
Harap lang. 6 muna, 6. Tanda mo 5 yan. Sinamban, loko. 6. Dalawa pa to.
Ano number yan to? 9.
9 tsaka 3. Labo pa yun. Ito, 9 tayo. Sa 9 tayo. Sa 9. 9. Pagdating
Nine
dito.
to.
Itong gitna. 9. Tapos pagdating dito sa dalawa pa. Dalawa din.
9 na to sigurado.
Wait lang
9 na yan
Bakit?
dyan. Kasi hindi na pwede mag 9 dito kasi may 9 dito eh.
Okay. Ito 9 to.
Yung 9 yan. Ay mali.
Wait lang.
Tapos tinawag eh. Ito wala na 9. So dyan. Wala na 9 dito. Itong pwede mag 9 dito. Dalawa.
Alam mo, hindi ka pwedeng magkamali mag-exit to. Kailangan sure 9 dito.
Sige lang.
So,
Dito 9 na to dito.
isa dito 9.
Ito 9.
Parang yung 9 yan!
Kasi mo, wala na pwedeng maging 9 dito. Oh, di na pwede maging 9 doon. So dito lang pwede maging 9 kasi di rin pwede maging dito.
Sigurado ka 9
Oh,
to.
9 yan. Walang pwedeng lagay dyan.
Oh,
3.
alin dito yung 9?
Oh, 9 dyan. Teka lang,
Dito,
umigi.
dalawa. Sa 3 muna. Kung kaya mo yung 3. Ito, 3 to. Tapos itong taas, 3. Tapos,
Ito, pwede
ay,
mo na.
ito.
Ito, pwede mo
Ito, 3
sagutin
na
to.
to, no? Ito, 3 na
Three.
yan.
Kasi may nandito. Sagutin mo yung wala. Ano
Itong
number?
5 na.
5.
5 pa na to. Loko ka.
Ito, sagutin mo na to.
5 na to. Tama yung sabi ko kayo na 5. Nakakatakot lang sagot na, diba? Kung bali eh. Ang sabi mo kanina? Sabi mo?
O, sagutin mo na to.
Ano to? To?
Yan, yung dyan.
Ang sagot ay 2.
Sabi mo to. 2 yan, 2.
Tapos ang sagot dito ay
6.
6.
Dali na, konti na lang.
17 minutes na.
Kanina mo pa binubuo yan?
17 minutes. Hoy, nasa ano na to? Excellent na to.
1.
Excellent
1
na to
to.
eh.
Kasi may
Wait
1
lang.
dito yan, no? Ito mga 1, walang 1 yan, no? Yan may 1 dyan, kaya hindi
Ito
pwede
6
1
to.
dyan.
6. Sagot lang.
Ito 1 muna to, sigurado
Saan?
ito 1.
Ito?
Yan, 1 yan.
Bakit?
Kasi hindi pwede maging 1 yan, kasi may 1 sa baba.
Ano lang, 1. Ay, ito, 1 to. Tapos, ito, 1.
Ito, sagutin mo na itong wala, oh.
Ang sagot dito ay 6. Ay, hindi.
7.
7. Tapos, ang gitna ay 3. Tapos, dito ay 7 ulit. Tapos, ang sagot dito ay 1, 2, 3. 3.
3.
Ito dito.
Oh!
Ay.
7 isa. Ito,
Tapos,
7 kanina.
7.
Wala mo number yan. Saan ka na?
Tapos,
7
7 mo
to.
na. Lang.
Ay,
Ano?
7 nga
Ito,
to.
7.
Isang 7 lang hinahanap mo.
Ito.
6
6.
lang.
6. Once upon a time. Mayroon pa yung 6 na tumataya.
3 muna.
3.
Dalawa na lang yung 3. Madali na lang yun.
3. 3 is 3. 3. Ito, 3.
Ito lang. May pwede maging... 3 yan. Sige.
3 yan.
Isang 3 na lang. Hinap mo.
Dito na lang yon. Na.
5 naman. Dalawa na lang yung 5 eh.
5. Ang 5 ay dito nagsisimula. Tapos dito, tapos dito, tapos dito.
Hirap. Ito
Ay,
lang. May
hindi.
5 dyan eh.
Ito, tsaka sa gitna pala.
Sipin mo.
Huwag mo na.
Ito lang.
Huwag mo na yung
Ito
5.
may 5 pala dyan.
Huwag mo na yung... Ito na lang, boy. Ito,
May
6
5 dyan
to
eh.
6. 6 yan.
6 oh. 6 muna. Doon na pala. Nakalagay.
Charan, chan, 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 chan. Sana 3 star.
3 star. Anong tagal-tagal bigyan. 1 star lang nga.
Ayun, 3 nga, oh. Hindi nakita?
Hindi.
3 yun, kasi nga excellent na nga ako.
Excellent. Kalakuhan mo.
Excellent na ako.
3.
Ano mo, excellent na yung binubuo ko. Ayun, eksperto pala. Ito na yung binubuo ko, eksperto.
Experto na yan. Parang easy lang.
Hoy, kanina pa yun, walang kaano number yun. Hindi na mo, oh. Pinag-isipan ko man yan.
Ang dami na talaga negosyo nag-advertise sa social.
Ano, walang ka number yan. Tingnan mo nga. Iilan lang yung number niya. Oh.
Sige lang.
Tingnan mo, kailangan 22 minutes. Oh, bilis.
Ito
Number.
pala yan, ha?
Ha?
Ito pala yan.
Bobo yan kasi hindi siya nag-i-English kapag nilalas.
Wow.
Una sa lahat, hindi talaga ako nalalasing. Pangalawa, hindi
Leave me alone.
Give me alone nga daw, kaya nga ano.
Una sa lahat, hindi talaga ako nalalasing. Pangalawa, hindi Bobo yan kasi hindi siya nag-i-English. Hindi ko naman kayo pipilitin kung ayaw niyo maniwala na ang pagtina ay 35.
Ayan yung magdada. Nag-isorbo yung tata na nag-workout